Section 1 of Elementary Catechism on the Constitution of the United States, for the use of schools, by Arthur Joseph Stansbury. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Part 3. Question. What security have we that the Constitution will be observed? Answer. The President, the members of Congress, the members of all the state legislatures, and all public officers of the United States, and of each one of the states, takes an oath when they enter upon their several offices to obey the Constitution, but the great security for its observance lies in the wisdom and excellence of the Constitution itself, and the conviction of the whole people of the United States that it is for their true interest to observe it inviolate. It has been tried for 50 years, and has done more to render this nation peaceable, powerful, and happy than any form of government that ever existed among men. Question. You said that the Constitution, however wise or good, might nevertheless be amended if the people of the United States chose. Answer. Yes, the Constitution says so expressly. Question. Has it ever been amended? Answer. Yes, several times. Question. What was the subject of the First Amendment? Answer. The subject of religious freedom. Question. What do you mean by that? Answer. I mean the right every man has to worship God in such way as he thinks fit, without being called to account for his opinions or be punished for them. Question. Is this a sacred right which ought to be guarded with the greatest care? Answer. Certainly. God alone is the judge of our religious belief and service, and no man has a right to interfere with it so long as it does not lead us to injure or disturb our neighbor. A great part of the misery and oppression which has existed in the world began with forcing men to do what their conscience disapproved. Question. What amendment was made in the Constitution on this subject? Answer. Congress was forbidden to make any law respecting an establishment of religion, that is, giving the preference to any one form of religion above another, and making laws to support it, or making laws to prevent men from freely holding or observing any particular form of religious belief and practice. Question. Was any other subject introduced into the same amendment? Answer. Yes, the freedom of speech and the freedom of the press. Question. What do you understand by these expressions? Answer. In a free country like ours, every citizen has a right to express his opinion of the character and conduct of our rulers, and of the laws they make for our government. To forbid this, or punish it, would be highly dangerous to our liberty. If those chosen by their fellow citizens to rule the state rule in a foolish or wicked manner, it ought to be known that they might be speedily turned out of office, but if nobody might find fault with them without danger of punishment, their bad conduct would never be exposed, and they might continue in power to the great injury of us all. The right to speak our opinions is the freedom of speech, and the right to print them that they may be read by others is the freedom of the press. Question. But suppose I say of my rulers what is false and injurious, may I not be punished? Answer. Yes, if they can prove in a court of justice that what you have said is false, and that your saying or publishing it has injured them. So may any of your fellow citizens, but you are still at liberty to speak and to print, being liable to the consequences if you abuse your liberty. Question. If the people shall be of opinion that any of the acts of their rulers have been wrong, may they meet together to petition, that is, to publicly ask that these acts may be altered? Answer. Yes, if they meet peaceably. But if they behave in a riotous or disorderly manner, they may and ought to be punished. Question. May they meet with arms in their hands? Answer. Yes. the right to keep and to carry arms is one which belongs to the citizens at all times, but arms must not be used except to support the laws or to resist an enemy. Question. As the public safety requires that the government should employ hired soldiers as well as the militia, may these soldiers be sent to live in the house of any citizen and at his expense without his consent? Answer. Never, when the nation is at peace. When it is at war, it may often be necessary to do this, but the Constitution declares that even then it must only be done according to law, not according to the mere good pleasure of an officer of the army, but in a manner which the representatives of the people shall lay down. Question. Has the government power to enter the house of a citizen and search it, and to take him and his papers and his property at any time it thinks fit? Answer. No. It is sometimes necessary and proper to seize a man's person and property, and to search his papers, but this may never be done until some of his fellow citizens charge him with some offense which would require this to be done, make it appear probable that he is guilty, and swear to what they declare against him. Then a judge gives to an officer a warrant to search and to seize, but the warrant must say particularly what places are to be searched and what persons or property is to be seized. Otherwise, no man would be secure. Question. Suppose I am accused by my neighbor of some crime which is punished with death. These are called capital crimes, or which would render me infamous in society. Must I be seized and tried because he has accused me? Answer. No. You must be either confined or in some other manner prevented from going away, until his accusation is laid before a number of your fellow citizens called a grand jury, who swear to act fairly in the case. They hear your accuser and all the proof he has to bring against you, and if they think that he is wrong in supposing you guilty, and that his proof is not sufficient, they refuse to have you tried, and you are set at liberty. But if they think his proof is such that you ought to be tried, so that no man can be put on his trial till many impartial men think and swear that there is reason to believe he is guilty. Question. Does what you have now said apply to soldiers and sailors in the army and the fleet? Answer. No. They are tried according to certain rules and regulations called Articles of War, to which they swear to submit when they become soldiers or sailors. Question. Does it apply to citizens who are in the militia? Answer. No, not when engaged in actual service in time of war or public danger. They are then subject to the Articles of War. It applies to them at all other times. Question. What other rights are secured to an accused person? Answer. Whoever is accused of a criminal offense, that means an offense for which he is to be tried by the state, shall have a speedy and public trial. He may not be kept confined longer than is necessary, nor may he be tried in a secret place, but openly before all who choose to attend. And he shall have a jury of impartial men to try him. The trial by jury has been already explained. The men who compose his jury must be of the same state and of the same district where the offense is said to have been committed. He must be fully informed of the nature of the charge brought against him and how it came to be made. Question. Suppose he knows of persons who could prove him not guilty of the charge, but they live far off, or are unwilling to attend his trial. Can he force them to come? Answer. Yes. The court will grant him a certain paper called a writ of subpoena, and send it by an officer to every person he wants as a witness in his favor, and such persons are obliged to come or to be heavily punished. Question. Has he any other privilege? Answer. Yes, he has the right to have the advice of a lawyer to aid him in his defense, and to plead his cause. Question. Can he be forced to bear witness against himself? Answer: No. Question: If he is once tried and not found guilty, may he be again tried for the same offense? Answer: If it is an offense which, if proved against him, would put him in danger of losing his life or suffering any bodily injury, he may not. Question: Are my life, liberty, and property guarded by the Constitution, so that no man is allowed to touch either of them except according to the laws of the land? Answer: They are. Question: But if my property is wanted for a useful public object, may it not be taken from me? Answer: Yes, but you must be paid the full value of it in money. Question: Suppose I am sued by my neighbor about some property, am I to have a jury to try the case? Answer: Yes, if the amount in dispute is more than $20. Question: You said that when a person is charged with a criminal offense, he must be confined or otherwise prevented from going away till a grand jury has heard the accusation and proof against him. How else can he be restrained from going off but by confining him? Answer: By obliging him to bring forward persons who will become his bail. That means, who will agree to forfeit a certain sum of money if he goes away and does not return to be tried. Question: Who has power to say how much money they shall agree to forfeit? Answer: The judge, before whom the man is accused. Question: May he fix any sum he pleases? Answer: No. The sum is to be according to the nature of the crime, and the danger of the accused man's running away, but it may not be made so great as to be cruel or unjust. Question: Are offenses ever punished by a fine, that is, by obliging the offender to pay a sum of money? Answer: Yes, but here the same rule applies. The sum must not be made out of proportion to the offense and the circumstances of the offender. Question: May a judge contrive new punishments out of his own head, or order such as are not in common use for such offense as been committed? Answer: No. Question: Because the Constitution only speaks of certain rights belonging to citizens of the United States, does it follow that the citizens have no rights but these? Answer: By no means. Question: Has the United States government any power but such as is contained in the Constitution? Answer: No. Question: Have the different states of the Union all the powers which rightfully belong to a state, except those which are denied to them by the Constitution? Answer: Yes. When the states united to form a constitution for their general government, they agreed to give up to that government some of the powers they had before, and they set down in the Constitution what those powers were. All other powers they keep. The same thing is true respecting the people. All the powers they have not given up to the state governments or to the general government, they keep in their own hands. Conclusion. And now, my young friends, having gone through a short and, I hope, clear and intelligible view of this Constitution, I have a few parting words to say to each one of you. In the first place, consider how happy and how highly favored is our country in having a system of government so wisely calculated to secure the life, liberty, and happiness of all of its citizens. Had you lived or traveled in other parts of the world, you would be much more sensible of this than you can possibly be without such an opportunity of comparing our lot with that of others. But as your reading increases, particularly in history and in travels, you will be able to form a more just estimate of what you enjoy. When you read of the oppression which has been, and is still exercised, I do not say in Africa and Asia, whose inhabitants are but partially civilized, but even in the most enlightened countries of Europe, under absolute monarchs, a proud and haughty nobility, a worldly, selfish, and ambitious priesthood, a vast and rapacious standing army, and a host of greedy officers of government, and then turn your eyes on your own happy home, a land where none of these evils has any place, where the people first make the laws and then obey them, where they can be oppressed by none, but where every man's person, property, and privileges are surrounded by the law, and sacred from everything but justice and the public good. How can you be sufficiently grateful to a beneficent Providence, which has thus endowed our country with blessings equally rich and rare? In the next place, remember that this precious Constitution, thus wise, thus just, is your birthright. It has been earned for you by your fathers, who counseled much, labored long, and shed their dearest blood to win it for their children. To them it was the fruit of toil and danger. To you it is a gift. Do not slight it on that account, but prize it as you ought. It is yours. No human power can deprive you of it, but your own folly and wickedness. To undervalue is one of the surest ways to lose it. Take pains to know what the Constitution is. The more you study, the higher you will esteem it. The better you understand your own rights, the more likely you will be to preserve and guard them. And, in the last place, my beloved young countrymen, your country's hope, her treasure, and one day to be her pride and her defense, remember that a Constitution which gives to the people so much freedom and entrusts them with so much power rests for its permanency on their knowledge and virtue. An ignorant people are easily betrayed, and a wicked people can never be ruled by the mild influence of their own laws. If you would be free, if you would see your country grow in all that constitutes true greatness, cultivate knowledge, free from vice. The virtuous citizen is the true noble. He who enlightens his understanding, controls his passions, feels for his country's honor, rejoices in her prosperity, steps forth to aid her in the hour of danger, devotes to her advancement the fruits of his mind, and consecrates to her cause his time, his property, and his noblest powers, such a man is one of God's nobility. He needs neither riband nor star. His country knows and remembers his name, nor could any title add to its honor or to his reward. We have seen such men among us. We hope to see many more. And through the glory of giving to their country such a Constitution as this, is what none but they have been so blessed as to enjoy, yet you succeed to a task, but one degree removed from it, that of preserving what they have committed to your virtue, unsullied and unimpaired. End of Section 1, Part 3. End of Elementary Catechism on the Constitution of the United States for the use of schools by author Joseph Stansbury.